No, he's. The time is 6:02 and I call this 7:02. Woo. Come on, and 7:02. And I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. Just checking to see if y'all are listening. Notice has been duly posted in accordance to Texas Government Code Section 551, and we do have a quorum present with all council members and city administration and staff present. Councilman Miller, would you lead us in the pledges and the invocation?
Let us pray. Father God, we come to you this evening, thanking you for bringing us together to do city business. We ask, God, that you will bless this meeting. We ask that you will cover every process, every part of it. Allow our city to prosper, bring everything together for its good. We thank you for our mayor, all of our city council members. We ask, God, that you will cover our leaders and protect each and every one of us. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
I don't know, it's like a high chair.
Thank you, Reverend Councilman Miller, for that. All right. Mr. Bowie, we'll do this introduction.
So we have a new employee with us tonight, Jared, if you want to come up and.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. I apologize.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Atticus Hughes, our new Public Works Superintendent. Atticus comes with us with an impressive 9 years of experience dedicated to the city of Grand Prairie, where he has developed a deep expertise in water and wastewater municipal utilities and construction management. Atticus is known for his commitment to the community, a passion for public service, and a reputation for implementing innovative solutions. We are thrilled to have Atticus on board, ready to guide our daily operations and keep everything flowing smoothly, ensuring that our residents continue to receive top-notch services without missing a drop. Please join me in welcoming Atticus Hughes to our city. We are excited about the positive impact he will make as we work together to improve and expand our city's infrastructure for the benefit of all of our citizens.
Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
Heights.
Lane.
Oh, right.
Okay.
He's back.
Jennifer.
Yep. Come on up, please.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Salzman. I am the Executive Director for the Heights Ellis County Family Resources. We are a nonprofit in Ellis County for families going through domestic abuse. Lane Grayson here is helping pack out a packet for you guys that gives you more information about us and some specifics around our clientele in relation to the citizens residents here in Red Oak. We are, for lack of better terms, a one-stop shop for families going through domestic abuse. We're a part of a national alliance. There are over 600 what we are called family justice centers or multi-agency centers around the world, 300 in the States, 300 internationally. We are the third in Texas. There are now 4 open centers and 4 in development. And I have the privilege of being a part of that alliance and learning what is the best practice across the country for providing these services. Today, we are on an 11.5 acre campus in Midlothian, right off of 287. Really great access for everybody in the county to be able to come seek services. And we provide those wraparound services at no cost to any of these clients. Things from doing an initial intake that includes a danger assessment from Johns Hopkins University to understand their risk of becoming a domestic violence homicide, and then creating a safety plan and service plan for them, providing counseling. We have 15 on-site partners now today. And that includes a mental health clinic, our Ellis Christian Women Job Corps, many other agencies providing things like support services, those mental health resources. We have an on-site salon and boutique to get them ready to go to job interviews, go to court. We even have a mock courtroom on campus. Court's one of the scariest places that victims go, as well as for us as professionals, and to be able to have that space to utilize and help teach them what to expect, how to follow the system. And then we want to walk alongside these families through the entire process. Today, we are working on opening an emergency shelter. We will have that open hopefully the end of this year or first of next year. We are very close to that. I'm very excited. Right now, we are providing emergency shelter services through hotels and partner shelters. We're part of a statewide network called DV Beds. So we work with all the other shelters and agencies across the state. And then we now have an entire robust housing program to walk alongside them for when they leave shelter. What do they do next? And how do we provide them support for the months and years ahead that it takes to get back on their feet, to integrate them back into our county in each city? We're working very diligently to have resources and housing that puts them back in the cities they came from, so that their kids in their schools and they're surrounded with support, and we're walking that entire process with them. Other things, Lane, you'd like to share about us?
First of all, she's the one with all of the knowledge, but Mayor, council members, thank you for having us today. 228,000 people in Ellis County. This is a real activity that needs to take place each and every day. Even if you yourself have not experienced domestic violence, someone in your immediate circle absolutely has. And if I give you about 30 seconds to think about it, you'll think of multiple individuals who have had the opportunity to go through something horrific that maybe you don't understand, or maybe that I don't understand. This is a real need in our growing community, and many of you have seen the efforts that has come because of the Heights. Let me encourage you to go through these services. Call on Jennifer to come give you a tour. You will be amazed at what has already begun, what is already happening within our community, the services that are being here. And she said it when she said it best earlier. At the end of the day, it's not just to get help for that injury or that medical need or that job or that housing, but ultimately our goal is to reincorporate that individual or that whole family either back into this community to become economically a part of what goes on in our community, to be a contributor, to be on their own, to stand on their own will, but to give them a voice and a direction and an opportunity of hope. At the end of the day, that is all we want. We want to know they're loved, we're respected, and that we believe, and that hope is a direction that they can go to and reach and achieve satisfactorily a job or a home. All of the things that maybe all of us this morning, before we stepped our foot on the floor, might have actually took for granted. I know I do often. I take for granted the privilege that we have in a community that's growing like yours, Mayor. Phenomenal growth. And I just kind of snuck into your meeting a while ago and heard some things, and guess what? It's happening all over this county. And I'm thankful for the growth that we have here. But along the way, we have folks that are hurting. But we've got folks like Jennifer and her staff that are meeting a need that is just epic at this time. I just don't want to be the one that left you with a bad taste in your mouth, but let me assure you, these services are needed. What your consideration is today, we are so grateful for, and we hope that you will continue to sponsor us and continue to love us by helping us with those resources so we continue to give back to even your people in your community, just like in every other city in this county who need help in the direction of hope. Thank you for your time today. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Let me have one. Let me have that.
Said no.
I did, but I have other clients that, they have other clients here in the county that,
Thank you.
need to know about this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good to
You
meet you.
mentioned that.
We have, Jeff is pointing out, we have a luncheon coming up October 16th. We would love to invite you guys to come to that. We have a seat for you. Please attend. It's going to be really significant, not only just because it's bringing together the entire county community, but also we have the honor of having the Gabby Petito Foundation. I don't know if you followed her case almost 3 years ago now, but she lost her life. It was very public, social media, through domestic abuse and ended up in strangulation. And we are partnering with the Gabby Petito Foundation to work on curriculum for school systems to help with prevention. So we are thick in the trench of this and looking at it as a national scale that's coming right out of Ellis County in a partnership with an incredible organization that had to deal with this tragedy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, yeah, that's invitations right in front of you. Just RSVP to Miss Karen. And hopefully we can have a seat. Okay. This. We're making a proclamation for September 17th, 23rd is Constitution Week. So it's something we do every year by order from the Lincoln government. And we just want everybody to remember we the people and what that actually means stands for. So take time to read it. You have a blast in the past. Yeah. All right. So National IT Professionals Day is September 17th, 2024. And the men and women that are in the IT profession who keep things running for not only our local government, but maybe your small business. That is a wonderful thing that they do. It makes everything go round and round. And we are able to proclaim that September 17th is National IT Professionals Day. And they're up at the middle of the night, working on servers, remoting in, getting those boogers off your the creeps that try to put things in your email and everything else. And so thank you for your infrastructure and your hard work. So thank you very much. You know what I mean by boogers, you know those guys. So September is National Preparedness Month. And it's the slogan for this year is to start a conversation. And disasters can hit you at any time. It may be weather related, it may be fire at your own home related, but the best that we can be prepared and to have everything, a plan in place, an individual family plan would be the way to tackle that. Help your neighbors. If you have your senior citizens that are next door, make them accountable or help them be accountable to look out for them. And We, as a council, proclaim that September is National Preparedness Month, and Chief would love to speak a little bit more eloquently than I do about what we can do. So,
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. We'd just like to encourage everyone to have, have an evacuation round, not only out of your house if your house was to catch on fire or something like that, but also if we had a disaster. If you had a tornado or something, have a way out of your house. Make sure your kids know, your family members know. If you go to an event that's outside, the state fair starts here in a couple of weeks. Go there with your family. Where's your meeting place? If something bad were to happen when you're at a large location like that, where are you all gonna meet up at afterwards? Have contact information. But if you lose your cell phone, if I lose my cell phone, it's my life. But so have those important contact information, your bank account information, your family members, because I know probably like the majority of us, we probably only got one or two phone numbers memorized anymore because it's all in your contacts. So, have those things. Think about your pets in a disaster situation. How are you gonna care for your pets? So just have a plan together for your family to be able to better yourself and your family through that disaster if it is destructive.
and look out for your neighbors.
Yes.
So, September 15th through October 15th is National Hispanic Heritage Month, and we, again, I don't think anybody's here to receive this, but we, as council and mayor, hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Okay. Citizens' comments. Citizens' comments is an opportunity for anybody to get up and address the council. Just realize that we, if it's not an agenda item, we may not be able to respond to that. We will not be able to respond to that. We'll limit your comments to about 3 minutes. I do have some requests, but I think they may be related to specific items. 16. And then 19th. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak that's not on the agenda? Okay. Okay. All right, so we will move on to our. We do have one. Okay. Steve Meyer. You'd like to, oh, you're on 17, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll do that at 17. Thank you, sorry, I apologize. Yeah. Okay, consent agenda. Consent agenda are items that are considered routine in nature and could be acted upon in one motion. Any council member or city staff or legal counsel can withdraw any item to be considered separately. Is there any item that council would like to withdraw? And those would be items 1 through 11. And these are items that are considered routine in nature, that may be something that we've been briefed on before, recurring internal house prep stuff. Is there anything that needs to be withdrawn?
No items.
No. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
That's Lightfoot
Second.
and Smith. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0. Item 12. Item 12 is consider adoption of resolution number 24-088R approving the candidate nomination for Ellis County Appraisal District Board of Directors for the year 2025.
So I have not heard from anybody with any nominations. What we typically do is cast our votes to one of the other nominations, because even if we nominated a candidate, we don't have enough votes to put them into office. So we typically work with one of the other communities or school districts with some of their nominations and vote that way. So unless you all have some nominations, I have not heard of any.
So Danny, we supported Danny last year. Have we heard from any of the other entities to know? Is this something that we have to take care of now? It wasn't there a
If you
deadline on
if
it?
you want to nominate somebody, you need to do it tonight,
Right.
but you don't have to vote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is just
The
a
nominations, okay.
Correct.
for nominations for the slate, and then
Okay.
the slate will be presented for your consideration later.
Okay. Council, was there any nominations that you
I'd like to see the slate.
proposed? Okay, so then we take no action.
Take no action, man.
Item 13, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 24-031, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from Plan Development 164, PD 164, to Plan Development 164, Revised 1, PD 164, R1, for the development of a data center complex and associated infrastructure on approximately 225.7726 acres. 9,834,655 square feet tract of land situated in the Robert Crow Survey, abstract number 199, William Winifred Survey, abstract 1145, and John Evans Survey, abstract 1344, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas. Do I need to continue to read that? Okay.
So where we're at, and Emma will give you the presentation here in just a minute. What we're doing tonight is just the development plan portion of the zoning. For those of you, particularly in the public that may not know, a few months ago, we did the actual zoning ordinance that created the regulations and the requirements for the development. Now is the time that they bring back their site plans and developments for this particular phase, and gives council the ability to ensure that those development plans fall within the scope of the original requirements that you set forth. Emma?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The applicant has submitted a development plan for phase 1 of the development. This actually came before you all last year for the conceptual plan, and then there were PD development standards established and certain standards that were put in place, especially standards that the surrounding citizens requested for. As I mentioned, this is for phase 1, and they are submitting for 4 data center buildings, mechanical yards, electrical switch station, substation, 2 detention ponds, parking, and future construction of right-of-ways. Access to the site will be, the primary access will be from future Bachelor Road. And the secondary access point will be from Stainback, and that's just gonna be a manual entry point for emergency purposes and with a Knox box on this corner. And I'll show a more detailed angle here. Construction access will be from the northeast portion of the site through the Encore easement via Loop 9, as you can see here.
Emma, has that all been worked out between TxDOT and Encore at this point?
That is actually what the applicant is showing on their development plan for their future construction.
Cause I know
Plan.
that, I know that they were working through that and weren't sure exactly when TxDOT was gonna open Loop 9 to be able to use that access point. So there may be some early time period that they would be utilizing Bachelor as well. But the majority of it would be through the north, as soon as that access is available. The road isn't open, they can't go down.
But part of that plan then, or the whole thing is even if they use Bachelor, that they reconstruct that.
So they'll be reconstructing the existing Bachelor Road from Old Road to Stainback into a concrete roadway. And then they'll be extending north of Stainback with concrete as well. And they'll also be concreting Stainback itself along their property line to the end of their property.
But that would probably be after construction, correct? Or once that upper road opens up, then they would do that to concrete, or would they do the concrete before they do the development itself? They probably would be driving on the.
They'll be doing concrete initially because some of what they're doing will be water line development, and they will have to do concrete to put those, because they'll be tearing some stuff up to get the water into it. So they'll be doing concrete probably early on in the project.
Yeah, they're doing some of that infrastructure upfront before they actually start building interior.
Right.
So as Todd was saying, this is for the existing Bachelor Road from Avila to Stainback. It's going to be improved with concrete. Bachelor Road, the proposed Bachelor Road that'll go on the west side of the development. They're going to construct half of it with concrete right-of-way, curb and gutter, and sidewalk. And the existing Stainback along the property will be improved with concrete and a bar ditch, and also with a proposed 5-foot sidewalk along the northern boundary adjacent to the site. There were lots of discussions around the repairs of the roads. They also put that in a development plan that if there's any sort of damage in between construction, they're going to be responsible and accountable for bringing those conditions back to par. There were also concerns with screening. The original conceptual plan and development standards required that the equipment yards be screened, completely screened from the right of ways. So what they have done is ensure that it's screened through berms, shrubbery, and trees. And they've submitted sightline studies showing how it's not going to be visible. Also with the grading of the property, it's going to be inset lower than from the street, which is going to be a little bit higher. So as you can see here. Here. So this is going to be the right of way. This is the berm. Along Bachelor, it's going to be a 7-foot berm with shrubs, and then the iron fence. And then along Stainback, you're going to have the 6-foot berm with shrubs, and they're required to have a minimum 6-foot screening. So they went with, it has to be opaque. So they chose the berm and added shrubs, and then with the required trees. And these are all the sightline studies that just kind of shows from the different angles, how you're going to be able to see the mechanical yards from the right of ways.
Are you not?
Yes, correct. So from here, this is what you'd be seeing from the right of ways. Another point that really was a strong driver last year's submittal was lighting. They did put a note in the development plan that it's going to have to be pointed downwards and there can't be any sort of glare onto neighboring properties and onto the streets. And they submitted a photometric study that demonstrates that there won't be any sort of lighting pollution that goes on to the neighboring properties. So you can see here, the foot candles, they're really tiny, but it's showing it at 0. Foot candles, property boundaries. The construction hours are,
So will that sidewalk have lighting?
they will have, street lighting. So that's gonna be for the public, and then for the private property, that won't go onto the street or to the private properties. And we also discussed construction hours. They're still 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. They did add the details of no construction during holiday periods. And the construction is that they may do after 7 p.m. would be restricted to within the building. So there wouldn't be anything that goes over 70 dBA. So there may be some sort of internal work that is being done inside. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval, and staff also recommends approval of the request. Our future land use plan does support such uses as long as we take into consideration screening of the adjacent properties. And we also take into the fact that this is an opportunity to have a high capital investment just because of its proximity to Loop 9. And we're available for any questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
So P and Z approved unanimously. Did
Yes.
we have any mail-in?
Yes.
Just have it there where we can know to enter that into the record when we get to that point here.
Council, any questions?
I think we'll do public hearing first.
Sure.
I guess so.
Okay, so the time is 7:33, and we will open this public hearing. There wasn't anybody that submitted comments on this. Well, okay,
Mail-in comment.
mail-in comments or
We
whatever
did have
comments. So, okay. Good to see y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. For the record, my name is Daniel Box and I'm the zoning attorney with Winstead PC. Office is located at 2728 North Harwood Street. I think both Todd and Emma did a pretty great job summarizing this, so I don't want to waste your time. It won't be redundant either. I know it's beneficial sometimes to hear some things straight out of the horse's mouth, though, so I am going to go ahead and reiterate that Encore and TxDOT and our team are actively working toward getting that easement worked out there for access from Loop 9. Those documents are now on Encore's desk, and we think they're going to be finalized pretty soon. So we're expecting that to be worked out here within the next several months, hopefully 2, 3 at the max. But in the meantime, we'll be accessing the site through Bachelor for purposes of construction, and we are committed. We put that commitment in both the development plan and the PD conditions that we're going to reconstruct any of the public infrastructure that we tear up in the process. So in case you have any questions, I'm here together with members of our development team to answer any technical questions, operational questions. A big thanks to all of y'all for working with us in this process. Staff's been great, and we look forward to hopefully being here in Red Oak.
Great. And you said Mr. Box?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And
Michael Landwehr with Kimley Horn Associates. Office is located at 13455 Noel Road, Suite 700, Dallas, Texas.
engineering firm.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else care to speak on this? Entertain a motion at 7:35 to close this public hearing.
So move.
Second. Franklin. Goodwin. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye. Miller, aye.
Like today.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0. Now, council, any questions that you have?
No questions.
I have none.
No, no questions. Just to note that when this first came up for zoning, there were a lot of citizens that were here from this area. And it echoed the comments that we see in the submission, the written submission as well. I think that through the city staff and the landowner and the use owner, they've done a lot to address those comments. I think that they've done, maybe more than even what would be required to address those comments to try to make sure that those citizens get a good quality development, even though it's not one that they particularly want in their neighborhood. They're gonna have some improvements of streets. They're gonna be backing up to a highway, but not having to have the additional traffic of a neighborhood or some of the other uses that could have gone there. So, applaud the city staff for working to address those concerns through this process.
Good. All right, entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 24-031.
So moved.
That's Lightfoot,
Second.
and that was Miller. Thank you. I too would agree, and thank you for the developer and staff working hard to address a lot of those. So those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Edward, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye. That passes 5-0. Item 14. Conduct a public hearing, consider approval of ordinance number 24-039, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the City of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from agricultural district AG to plan development 177 PD 177 for a mixed-use development with single-family homes, multifamily residential development, and commercial use along the site located approximately 1,450 feet south of East Ovilla Road and east of North State Highway 342, as described as a tract of land situated in the Benjamin E. Fraser Survey Abstract number 371 and the McKinney and Williams Survey Abstract 751, and identified with property identification numbers 188281 and 228225, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas. Dr. Emma.
Mayor and Council, this is a request for a mixed-use development. This site actually came before you all a couple of months ago, and it was denied, and it came at Summerwell. And it was essentially single-family homes on one lot with commercial in the front and a public pond. They have changed the request, and there's still the commercial, they're still proposing the commercial and proposed commercial and vertical mixed use up towards the front. At this point, that's not being developed, so there's no site plan or landscape plan or elevation plan submitted for it, but that'll be developed in the future as such. And those commercial uses will be used to support the residential uses at the back. So entrance to the development will come from 342 with a landscape median, and it'll have sidewalks. So you can see they're proposing for the buildings to be pushed up towards the street so that it can encourage pedestrian activity. As you can see, the sidewalks come down into the residential portion of the site. And here it's a mixture of multifamily, 324 units and 26 single-family units.
And single family units have increased to over 1,800 square feet.
Yes.
which Conforms to our zoning classification.
So they are proposing the sidewalks along this public access easement where anyone, the public, the residents can come through and have access to the park, which will be dedicated to the public. The multifamily, they're going to be 1 and 2 bedrooms, a minimum of 697 square feet for the units. And they are proposing a clubhouse here. And during the last submittal, a concern was brought up for access to a public restroom, and they're showing that on this plan as well. They're showing the 30 parking spaces that'll be dedicated for the clubhouse use and a minimum of 24 public spaces, additional spaces for the pond use. The single-family homes are located are adjacent to the existing residential subdivision to the west with an alley going behind the homes. And it will be gated at certain points. Here. Gate here, sliding gates here. Here and here, security gates, and so it limits it to residents going inside the residential portion. They are providing amenities such as dog parks. The pond, which will be dedicated to the public, they're going to have to improve it, then they'll dedicate it to the public with a sidewalk around it. It's going to have fountain, a piers, pergola, benches, litter receptacles, and lighting throughout. The development is proposing carports. Our zoning ordinance currently prohibits carports, but in their development standards, they wrote it in that the columns, the posts will be encased with a thin brick masonry material. And they won't be visible from the streets. There will be a 6-foot masonry wall, brick wall here that will separate the visibility from the commercial to the residential. And as Todd mentioned, the minimum square footage of the single-family homes will be 1,800 square feet. And they'll each have a minimum of 2-car parking garage. Yes,
Two what?
2-car parking garage. They are meeting and exceeding our minimum landscaping requirements. Each single-family home will have an ornamental tree, and besides that, every other tree will be a minimum of 3-inch caliper tree per our regulations. The architectural style of the residences will be Texas traditional. There's going to be 2 floor plans for the single-family homes, and they won't be able to repeat across and adjacent to each other. They're going to have to switch floor plans or colors. And the multifamily is also Texas traditional architectural style. So this is an example of the pier. It's a concept. Signage. And an ornamental fence. I didn't mention this earlier, but the single family homes are gonna have 42-inch wrought iron metal fences so they can have a private yard. Let me go back just so you can see it. So they'll have this ornamental iron fencing, and they'll basically be facing the public pond when they go out. So this is going to be their garages. They can open their door and then have the view of the public pond. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the request, and staff also concurs with the recommendation because the comprehensive plan supports residential uses, but only in the context of mixed use. So they are presenting horizontal concepts because the future commercial will be within walking distance of the residential development. They're also providing a diversity of residential, of a residential product with the single family homes and the multifamily, and a prospective vertical mixed use along 342 with the commercial lots. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Emma. And so this is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 7:46. Anybody wish to speak?
Over that, I'm sorry. Good evening, Nikki Moore, independent zoning consultant is hired by Greystar to facilitate this zoning change. It's kind of good to be back in front of you this evening. Since our last visit, it's been communicated that a more traditional multifamily style development with a small percentage of the single family built to rent type of product was a more desired approach to this area and would be more supported, if you will. So we kind of went back to the drawing board and came up with a hybrid design. Okay, so kind of giving you a tour of the site plan. First, we are still concentrating that commercial portion along Highway 342. The vision is to really prioritize that visual marketing ability and pedestrian access by orienting those buildings up front to the roads, so that you don't have people visiting your commercial entity, having to park and then walk across a large parking lot to get to their destination. As staff kind of mentioned, this is also written into the plan development that should the market dictate it to be so, this could be a more vertical mixed use. So with retail on the bottom and more stacked flats or apartments above that in the future. So as you kind of mentioned, this is still conceptual in design, but we're really hoping that allowing the residential use here and having the density of the residential use will really spur on the development and allow this piece to be more marketable for a commercial aspect. And so entering that development, you'll find sidewalks and shade trees. These are to promote that pedestrian activity from the commercial and the residential portion of the development, and just to create a cohesive sense of space in terms of landscaping and signage for the whole entire development. The residential neighborhood itself boasts 324 stacked flats. 216 of those are 1 bedrooms and 108 of those are 2 bedrooms. So about almost 70% of those stacked flats are in that 1 bedroom category. And so based on current Greystar data at their current properties, about 8% of their population in this entity will be actually grade school children. So not a lot of grade school children coming into this development. We might see more families into the larger build to rent homes, but not necessarily in these stacked flats. So the 26 homes that are concentrated over here, we try to do our best to kind of continue to provide an amenity of the lake so that these folks have a view, but also this little area right here will create a nice streetscape of these single family homes where we have this side is alley loaded and then this side more or less shares a parking area with the multifamily. So you get that nice streetscape. We have some on-street parking dedicated over here for visitors and whatnot. So each of these homes, they are 2 stories. They're 4 bedrooms. They're a minimum of 1,800 square feet. And they each have 4 off-street parking spaces. So not only do you have the 2-car garages, but you also can fit 2 additional cars into the driveway if necessary. As mentioned earlier, each of these homes do have a private courtyard area in their front yard. So just a little space that can be used for personal use, in addition to all access to all the other amenities across this development. And those are programmed with 4-foot tall iron fences. I'll show you a little bit of a picture of what we envision that to look like from the public realm. Overall, the community is gated from a vehicular standpoint, but it is open to pedestrian connectivity. We don't want it to feel like a fortress. We want it to feel like it's connected in terms of the commercial and open to the community as well. Throughout the development, the multifamily is separately parked at a ratio of 1.6 spaces per unit. That is consistent with some of your other multifamily developments here in town, the Ovilla, the Emerson. And we've also reserved 30 of these spaces right here along the lake for public parking. So they'll be marked as such, and there will not be any overnight parking allowed in that. So it would not necessarily be for residents to park there and then to go and stay in their homes, but really fully reserved for the public. Also speaking of the public, in the clubhouse, we have programmed that public restroom that will have, access when the park hours are open as well, and will be fully maintained by the property management staff as well. And so all of these things, we talk about landscaping and sidewalks and upkeep. All of these items are written into the plan development as maintenance standards. That's really just to give you as a city kind of more assurance this development will stay as it's intended and as it's presented today. So in the previous submission, the building architecture for these multifamilies really evolved from that previous Texas traditional style, as it was the most popular and spoke directly to Red Oak's heritage. On these buildings, I would like to point out that there is a variety of roof pitches. So you're not just getting this long, blank, simple building. You've got tons of variety of roof pitches. We've got some brick detailing around the windows and the doors to provide interest. And all the exteriors are 100% masonry up to the top plate. We've allowed a little bit of cementitious fiberboard as an accent just to create some more definition and interest and variety to the building. We carried that Texas traditional theme to the single family homes to create cohesiveness in the community. I'd like to point out here too a variety of roof pitches, design, the brick detailing around the windows and doors, front porches, the uses of shutters, vents, columns to articulate variety in addition to those brick color changes. These exteriors are also 100% masonry up to the top plate. This is the photo I was mentioning and alluding to earlier. So if you're, walking around the pond, you're kind of looking back toward those single family homes. This is the vision that we want to create. So you see those more open fences with small little courtyards, and then the facade of the single family home. So those homes are really kind of dual elevated. You have the garage and a door on the back side or the roadside, but also have a front elevation as well facing the public realm. Okay, so let's talk about community features. So we do have, for the residents, private access to the clubhouse. It includes the pool, the fitness center, mailboxes are located there. There's some meeting spaces. Outdoors, there are some more congregational areas in terms of a fire pit and some gathering spaces with pergolas, dog parks for small and large pups. In addition to the walking path that goes all the way around the pond. So the walking path probably be just under a half of a mile. And we really want to amenize that with benches, trash receptacles. There will be little waste depositories for pet waste and things of that nature. We will incorporate the design of a few fishing piers once we kind of understand the depth and what we're going to have to do with that pond to get the sidewalk to go all the way around it. And we want this to be a natural resource that's available not only to our residents, but also to the rest of the residents in the city of Red Oak. So they can access that by driving into the development, walking into the development. There will be an additional trailhead space right here, connectivity to Fox Glen at that area. And whatnot. So this is going to end up being about 3.8 acres of land that after all of the improvements are made will be dedicated to the city for further maintenance. But at that request, they've also asked for some aerator fountains in order to keep the algae down, and the ongoing maintenance of that pond will be dedicated back to the Parks Department here. And I think back, developers get a really bad reputation, but we also get to be really creative people, and we get to create really special curated spaces. We get to build community. And I think back to, I lived in a neighborhood kind of similar to this during the pandemic, where we had walking past around ponds, and that's where we spent our time. We would go and take walks, several times a day, but it was a place that we wanted to be, a place that wanted to be outdoors. It's where we met our friends. It's where we congregated. And so in this instance, I know what you're going to get with Greystar Development. I know the quality that you're going to get, and I know that you're going to get those really special curated spaces. I know I mentioned earlier that you shouldn't have a huge expectation of getting a lot of school-aged families here, but we do have programmed into the plan development to install a bus stop, working with the school district or wherever that is going to be, whatever the best place is going to be for their bus route. So this would kind of give you a general idea of what we might think that look like, little covered space for the kids to wait for their bus to pick them up. These are some more photos of actual Greystar developments in their Birchway brand. As you can see here, it's just elevated kind of resort style pool, outdoor gathering spaces, grills and whatnot, as well as interiors, place for residents to meet, play games, enjoy time together. This is an example of a pet yard that would be on that first floor. So this would be more of your premium floor plans on that first floor where you'd actually have your own little pet yard attached to it. So this is kind of give you an idea of what that would look like. This is an example of a dog park in one of another Greystar's developments that's been placed in other communities. So as you can see, waste receptacles, benches. I believe this is also a pet washing station as well, which is kind of nice. If you have a big dog, you can't always bathe them in the bathtub, right? This would be an example of our garages. So these garages also are 100% masonry. On this particular site plan, they're programmed in 6-packs. So this would be a little bit longer than what you would actually see in this development. But just to give you an idea of other covered parking spaces that our residents might be able to enjoy. As always, there is the financial benefit to any city, and the value that we are attempting to create that brings in taxable valuable to you, tax revenue to you to go and do lots of capital improvements and growth and infrastructure and whatnot. But I think there's other benefits and value to a community that are sometimes a little bit more intangible. This really integrates well with the surrounding neighborhood. When we really start talking about that form-based design scale, we've programmed those single family homes up next to the single family homes that are already existing. And then we're increasing that density as you go toward those commercial areas. We've created well-designed and livable floor plans. And so when you start thinking about creating a community for a lifetime and offering a diversification in your housing portfolio, all the way from just having multifamily, right? Place for people to come back to after they've graduated college, but they don't want to live at home and you don't want them at home, right? But also too, the 4 bedrooms, someone who maybe is building a custom home or building a home in Red Oak, but they need a place to live in the meantime because they're using their equity to do that build. And so just giving you a wide variety of options to bring new residents into your community. But also just recognizing that this next generation of renter and buyer, they're not looking for an exorbitant amount of square footage. They're looking for a square footage that they can live in. Long gone are the days where you want the formal dining and the formal living in the library because you're really just furnishing those rooms and you have to clean those rooms, but you don't live in those rooms. And so I think what you're getting here is really great usable floor plans that don't feel petite by any means. They live really, really well. In addition to just creating that value and infrastructure. This development is programming a lift station in this area to really maximize the sewer capacity in the area, but also just in those park developments that are eventually going to be dedicated back to the city to really make this a usable space. And so it's kind of the end of my presentation. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or drill down further if you need to.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Okay, anyone else care to speak on this? Okay, entertain a motion at 8 o'clock to close this public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Franklin. Lightfoot. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Good, right.
Miller, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0. Council, this has been before us in different iterations. I think what the Moore Consulting has brought back to us was approved by P and Z. Was there any written in oppositions or anything like that? Okay.
They can just be entered into the record.
Yep.
We don't have to read all that.
Okay. Council, is there any questions that you have?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of questions. I don't know if they're for staff or the applicant, but may I see the plot plan again, or the rendering of the site? So initially, the last few times we've seen this project, what did the applicant decrease to increase the square footage of each property or each single family dwelling?
So they changed the orientation of the buildings, and since they're multifamily, you can actually get many more units in there, and they're building up. So they're able to do that because the architectural style or the natural product or makeup of multifamily is much more dense in comparison to single family. So that's how they're able to get more units on there.
Okay, and how many units, single family units?
26.
A total of 26?
Mhm.
All right, and the pool, I know we mentioned the lake is for the public. The pool is private, is that what I heard the applicant?
Correct.
So how will we control citizens that's coming in to go to the lake? How do you keep them from going to the pool? But they have a public restroom.
They do. So we are going to provide an access point of the public restrooms to the building. So this floor plan for the clubhouse has not been designed, but it will be feasible to get here. You can see right here along this edge, there is more of a 6-foot wrought iron fence that's programmed around the pool. And that will be, so residents access their gates, their unit doors, everything through their phone, through like an electronic contact. So that's how the residents will move in and out of the property. But this part is fenced off in terms of access.
So if I'm understanding you right, you're gonna have internal restrooms for the residents, and then you'll have an external restroom that does not enter into the rest of the clubhouse. It just is an old timey gas station restroom.
It'll be nicer than that, I promise. Come on, Todd, give us more credit than that.
I don't know how to explain.
All right, so an increase in the multifamily aspect of the development and decrease in the single family aspect of the development.
Mhm.
What separates your multifamily units from any other unit in Red Oak?
I mean, I can bring up the multifamily developer, but really that was the desire and the direction that we were provided, was that this was the need in Red Oak. And then we still needed the aspect of the single family living, and we increased those. I think maybe this is better answers your question. So we increased those. We were offering those in 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedrooms. So now all of the single family built to rent homes are 4 bedrooms and a minimum of 1,800 square feet. And then the smaller floor plans are offered in the multifamily. And I can bring up Greystar Development to kind of speak to why they are different. I would say from a personal experience, Greystar's difference is because they pay attention to the details. They pay attention to the things that residents touch every single day. And I'm talking doorknobs, handles on your cabinets, your faucets, and things of that nature is what separates the difference between a Greystar product and someone else's residential multifamily product. But Greystar can speak more to that.
TJ Moore, Greystar Development, 600 East Las Colinas Boulevard, Irving, Texas. Councilmember, was your question what makes our product different than the other?
Your multifamily.
What makes it better than the other multifamily in town?
Yes.
So the first one I'm going to tell you is like, we do quartz countertops. You know, it's not even granite. We're a step above that. All of our finishes are going to be just more modern. So it's you basically have two new projects in Red Oak, the Emerson and the Ovilla. And both are good products. But I would say ours is like a step above that in the internal finishes of what you see. Our building types are going to be similar, but they are 100% masonry, just because that's kind of the requirement of Red Oak. But internally, and our clubhouse is going to have more amenities in it. And then, of course, this pond is this public park pond that we're dedicating is, I mean, there's nothing like that I've seen around. So does that
Thank
answer
you.
your question?
Somewhat. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet.
You good, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I've got, this may be more for the city staff. Back to the covered parking. I know we've had issues up here, making the other businesses remove it. Why are we allowing it on this one because it's already in the plan?
No, actually, yeah, this is just a proposal. It's the PD. So if council approves it, it'll go forward like this, but it's not approved at all.
Cause the other one they did after the fact and without.
Yes,
code.
yes.
This, they're actually asking for it.
Correct.
All right.
And it's not visible from the street, and they're going to encase those posts with that thin brick masonry material. So it's gonna, the style is going to be a little bit a step above the typical metal posts for carports.
Just don't want other businesses to come, hey, maybe take mine down, and you're allowing them to build a new one, so just explain it.
Thank you, sir. Any others?
Are any of the internal roads ours to maintain, or would they all be the property developer, property owners?
Yeah, Property Owners Association. So it's a public access easement, so the public can go through there, the residents can go through there, but
But the
yes,
maintenance and everything is.
will be on
Yeah,
them. Yes.
okay. And I did see where it connects to the public road up in the upper left of this drawing. That's just for gated emergency entrance.
Correct. Emergency only.
Do we have any other public and private coexisting private areas working well for us already, where we're testing that whole reality of going to the pond and going to the restroom, be it that you're public, and then I live here, and why is there so much people around that's not from here when it has an exclusive feel? Is that being considered?
Do we have anything like that?
So Hickory Creek Estates, kind of across the road from here, they've got the public pond out there. Pretty much everywhere we have a pond with a neighborhood surrounding it is the same thing, and that has worked very well. Now, most subdivisions don't have ponds, but those that do, they don't have all year round ponds. They may have detention ponds that dry up during the summer and only are detaining water, but where you have the retention ponds, it's worked pretty well.
With a private community feel, could he attest to it?
Sure, just like across the road here.
Okay.
Just like crossing in Hickory Creek. The developer, the Gray Star residential component will have their own exclusive clubhouse with amenity centers and pools and stuff like that. So the only public portion would be the pond. Kind of small. Only accessible from the outside.
Only acceptable.
Similar to an old cell.
And that's taken care of.
With a hubcap on the key.
And who maintains the public restroom?
That's.
She already mentioned that, yeah.
The property management will do the public as well.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll maintain the actual park area with the pond and trails
Right.
and so forth.
Okay. I
The
missed that.
fountains and all that would be dedicated to the city.
Right.
How much space in the frontage is dedicated to commercial on this plan, and did that change from the prior plan?
Same as it was.
Same as it ever was.
Pretty much.
It
pretty
looked the
much.
same shape, I would just wanted to be sure it wasn't.
Go.
Same as it ever was.
Almost 4
The-
acres.
2.7 and the 1.65, it comes out to be.
Okay,
And-
both of the, oh yeah, the two separate,
Yeah.
it's okay.
All right, council, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 24-039, please?
So moved.
Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Miller. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, I.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, I.
That passes 5-0. We're excited to have
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you
Yep.
for sticking with us. So. All right, item 15. Conduct a public hearing, consider approval of ordinance number 24-040, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from Plan Development 29 revised to PD 29 R2 to Plan Development 29 revised 3 PD 29 R3 to amend the maximum allowed parking for the site identified as Lot 2R Block B of the Red Oak Business Park number 1, located on the south corner of the main street and the railroad tracks, and addressed as 205 South Main Street, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas.
Mayor and
Dr.
council, this item or this site has actually come before you all about 2 years ago. It was a PD amendment to allow the parking to be as is. And there was a sunset provision that was placed on it for 2 years. So they would have to get, within 2 years, they'd have to get a shared parking agreement with the former Randy's Barbecue site to the southeast. And within that 2-year period, staff wouldn't calculate the church parking as they agreed to only operate on Wednesdays and Sundays. The applicant has recently discovered that there was a shared parking agreement that was recorded and established between this property owner and this one, the old Randy's Barbecue, about 20 years ago. So that agreement basically kind of nullified the counseling of the church parking. So now taking into consideration the church parking, and if we take into consideration the 18 extra parking spaces that Randy's Barbecue has to offer, and the existing 142 parking spaces, they have a total of 160 parking spaces. Currently, they're not capable of leasing out any more of the tenant spaces because they've technically exceeded the parking ratio amount. So the staff is, not staff, the applicant is requesting for there to be considered a total of 207 parking spaces. And this would be done by, calculating the rest of the empty suites, which are in red, at a rate of 1 parking space per 250 square feet of floor area. And if in the future, at any point, the applicant or the site exceeds this amount of parking, then they'll have to come back and request to build extra parking to the site to the north. Currently, there is a PD that for this entire site that shows future buildings and parking up here to the north. But they would have to come back and build extra parking spaces if indeed the parking does exceed the allowed amount if city council does approve it. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval.
Sorry,
Clarification?
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
so you're saying basically recalculate the available parking spots, assuming, or at a lower rate for the empty
Yeah, for the
empty portions of the.
right.
Okay.
So then that's essentially giving them about 44 parking spaces.
So they're saying, let's use I may have parking spaces that would have been dedicated to one unit, that unit's not being rented out, so I can count them towards my available parking. at a
Yes.
lower Rate, basically.
Yes, so, yeah, exactly.
But aren't we stepping on our tongue by doing that?
Well,
I need clarification on that too, Mr. Mayor. What is step one?
So, so some of the vacant buildings that are currently vacant are not gonna be your high trafficked areas for the heavy end restaurant and retail. I mean, you're not gonna get a big restaurant to go back in the back where nobody can see it. And that's what we're trying to accommodate for. It would allow, some of the lesser type impactful uses to have the fewer parking spots, but be able to allow some of the other areas to have retail and restaurant still. It's just at a point now where it's tough to get the property leased, even without having the parking problem. Even if it is approved tonight, you're still gonna have a hard time getting the retail restaurant type tenants back there. So this hopefully will allow him to be able to go out, him or whoever, if it's bought, would be able to allow them to go out and get some use in it.
I would see a real parking problem in that thing anyway.
Not in years, not since the old Salmon Creek Grill or the 342 Grill was in there. We haven't had a problem. Used to be a long time ago.
So what's the trigger? They get one new business that says, we gotta have more parking, or their business model says it's gotta have 10 spots for that. They decide they rent there. Does that trigger that they have to build the other parking lot to the north? What is that?
what
trigger?
triggers the extra parking?
That's right.
So let's say, for example, the existing use, it changes to, let's say there's an office in one of the spaces right now, and a restaurant wants to go, like a Smoothie King wants to go, then that's gonna trigger it to exceed. That's assuming that all the other empty tenants now are filled up, and then another tenant comes in, one of the older ones, then that would increase the parking demand.
Assuming the vacant ones are.
Yeah,
retail
assuming-
and restaurant.
Right.
If they're more office related back towards the rear, then it might not trigger.
Okay, so part of my comment was, we shouldn't be in the habit of changing a requirement or a zoning parking requirement for a building, because we've caused some businesses to leave because they couldn't, like the gas station that's on Oakville Road, the oil change gas station. We said, because the state's taking your parking and you can't negotiate with the person back behind, that business has to go away. So that's why I was saying, have we, or are we gonna be stepping on a tongue here? But that's fine. So how did this paperwork, I guess we need to open this public hearing first, or is that right? Probably. Okay.
It'd be good.
I'm sorry. So let's open this public hearing at 8:19. All right. Is there anybody that wishes to speak on this? Yes, please come on up and state your name and. I'm sorry.
Good evening, Steven Zimmerman, address 6220 Campbell Road, Suite 104, Dallas, Texas. I'm I was with y'all a couple of years back too. The property manager of this. The property is currently under contract to sell, and this parking issue will
Make it or break it.
make it or break it.
Okay.
Stewart's with Precision Investments. He's the buyer. His group's the buyer. They want to come in and basically rebrand the shopping center, which I think is needed. And Emma, do we have the pictures that I took? I understand what you're saying, or you stepping on yourself with the parking, but a center like this, is not like a regular center where it's everything's in the front and we've got buildings all over the place in the back, sideways. The odds of getting a restaurant back here or anything that's high traffic that's going to take up parking. It's just not going to happen. No general retail will go where it's blocked here, and now blocked here. It's just, is it down? The pictures? Basically, I went around a week, morning, lunch, dinner time, and took pictures of the parking. And at any point of the day, it looks, Gravy pulls in a lot of traffic, but it pretty much just, it looks desolate. So at this point, for us to develop land to the side of the building would give it even a worse image of a shopping center that can't fill itself. And I mean, I would love to have a parking problem here and develop that land, but right now we've got a few vacancies. We have a pharmacy that's trying to come in and he couldn't get a CO because we're one parking spot over our limit. But I mean, it just does not make sense to develop the land. And right now we're handcuffed. We can't sign any leases or do anything. And it's just looks like a dead center. There's parking all over. If y'all ever drive by and pull in, it just does not make sense to do that. Now, I've always said parking issues, when you have land like that, will be a self-correcting issue. If this center got fully 100% occupied and for whatever reason, high traffic people wanted to go in the back, like let's say we put a restaurant in the back, which would not happen, but let's say we did that. We'd be more than happy to develop that land to the side. It would make sense.
Parking, develop the parking.
To park, develop another parking lot. But it has to come within the appropriate time. Right now, it would be adding to making a bad image worse by saying we're building parking and we've got 80% of our parking lot empty. So, and the new developers or the new buyers, might I say, I mean, this is what they do. They buy these centers. They're not flipping the center. They're going in there and they're making it. I mean, really what they've done with their other centers is incredible. That it'll be a great place for Red Oak, for tenants to come. Right now, no one wants to come into a center that, you know, doesn't have any traffic. I would much rather have a center with a parking problem in the sense that we don't have any parking than a center that has a parking problem, which means, you know, it looks like a vacant lot. So I'd like Stuart to come up here and kind of show you what he would be doing to the center if this passes and the sale can go through because of the parking, and to kind of give y'all an idea what idea Main Street Plaza has the capabilities of thriving with good ownership.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman.
Good evening. Stuart Cordy, Precision Investments, 740 East Campbell Road, Richardson, Texas. Thank y'all for allowing me up here. As Stephen mentioned, our company, we specialize in shopping centers, primarily up in DFW. Over the past number of years, we've acquired 7 shopping centers, currently have this one under contract, as well as a couple more. And so this is our day-to-day business. My partner and I, who founded the company, we started off as retail leasing brokers. And so we both did that for over a decade each. And so we really understand what tenants are looking for when they're trying to lease a space and when they're trying to open up a business. And, you know, we can understand what challenges are with properties and how to try to correct those challenges to make it more attractive to the customer as well as to the business operators. And so, you know, we've seen here in Red Oak that there's hardly any vacancy in the market for retail. And so we know that there's a demand for space. As Stephen mentioned, I think this is a property that, you know, if someone was developing it today, probably wouldn't choose to go with this type of layout. It's just not, you know, with it likes a lot of the spaces lack visibility, which is imperative in retail. And so that's why we have to kind of figure out a way where it's a little bit more attractive to get people to come in and really feel like it's, you know, it's more of a bigger development. And so, you know, starting off with just coming in with general repairs and cleanup. And so we've got, you know, some of the separations in the brick that's happened over time. You can see this white staining that's going on in the brick, getting all of that cleaned up, repairing all of the existing awnings that have been damaged, concrete repairs. Again, here's the more of the calcium that's come in. So we'd come in with a special type of like an acid wash, pressure washing, to get that taken care of. Then back here for that 6,000 square foot building that's located in the back there, you can hardly see it. Just one of the ways to kind of increase the visibility to that is to do kind of a raised facade. Just raise it up a little bit from the parapet to create a bigger signage elevation to it. And now, granted, we have not, none of this has been approved by the city. This is all ideas. Then there's a couple of spaces here that are still in the shell condition. This is just a general picture of a random space, but so that just means that ever since the building was built, 20 or so years ago, no tenant has ever occupied the space. And one thing that we understand is a property like this, you're not going to necessarily attract the AT&Ts and Chipotle's and a lot of the big name brand tenants. You're going to get more of your local community mom and pop types of tenants. And when you walk them into a space like this, they kind of get freaked out. And so a lot of times in retail leasing, the traditional way of leasing a space like this, the landlord will contribute a tenant improvement allowance to the tenant and say, go hire an architect, go hire a general contractor, go work with the city and figure it out. But for us, we go in there, we've got a construction manager on our team and multiple GCs that we work with. And so we'll go in and do just speculatively do a white box to the space. So adding in restroom, HVAC, lighting, kind of making it feel like it's more of your, blank canvas that people can then start to visualize. And then we're also willing to do spec build outs for the tenants, more of a turnkey build out from there if that's necessary. But that's kind of step one. Then here, some of these buildings kind of on the back side of them, it again, kind of making it feel like one cohesive unit. You can see it's just the metal. It feels like you're at the back of the building. And so what we'd like to do here is come in and put, either some type of stucco or paneling over covering up the back. And we'd love to do brick. It just might not be cost effective for us to do it that way. But at least that way it kind of makes it feel like you're not in the back. Then here in the middle, I've been working with the new owners of this restaurant building here, Future Zooks, potentially trying to, how can we better utilize this land? Ideas, what we're thinking right now is maybe put a little playground out there, something that can serve the community, but really more for the customers who are here. And if you're sitting down eating at Gravy or one of the other businesses here, it's just a little, community area. Then to the point of rebranding the shopping center, looking at adding some type of kind of entryway signage. Due to the location of this monument sign, we actually look to push this back a little bit. Redoing the landscaping, we're very big on landscaping. That's kind of like the first thing customers notice when they pull into a property. Then coming in and repainting all of these green, not that it looks bad, but we just think giving it a fresh coat of paint on all these awnings, light posts and sconces. And so, yeah, I think, when we talk about retail, it's just, if you were planning to open up a business, I think it's important to kind of ask yourself, would you want to go to a property that's 50% leased or, that has all the parking in the world? Or would you rather go be at a property that, kind of feels more like it's thriving and activity just breeds more activity? And so, we understand the need for parking and the necessity for it. If we end up with a parking situation where customers don't have anywhere to park, then that's where we step in. And, because ultimately if these businesses fail, then that's not good for us. We're right back to square one. And so we look at it like a partnership. We're in business with them. We need them to be successful for us to be successful. So we've done this at multiple properties. We had one in Princeton where we expanded the parking lot. In Weatherford, we expanded the parking lot. Property in Richardson, we worked out a parking agreement with the adjacent multifamily owner to allow employees to park in their parking garage. And each of those things, none of those were done as a requirement by the city. That was just something that, once we got those properties to the stabilized point and we understood, okay, we need to kind of help these businesses be more successful. So if we get to that stage, and hopefully we do, then we're more than happy to go spend the money and construct that. We just think that it's, if you go look at the property today, then to go have to build more parking when parking is most certainly not an issue as it exists, just doesn't feel like it's the wise investment for us. But as you get to 100% lease, now all of a sudden there's more revenue being generated by the property, and now it becomes a sound investment. So, thank you.
How do you say your last name? I apologize.
Cordy?
Okay. So is there?
It's
Randall?
No,
Randall's. he's
Oh,
the
okay. I apologize. So
yeah,
is is your partner?
he's the current owner.
Current owner? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay. I apologize. Thank you, sir. I apologize.
Could you tell me your last name again?
Yes, ma'am. Cordy, Korte.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would just like to point out one thing. Right now, we're over our parking. We're at 161 and we have 160. So technically, we should be building. And the parking lot is dead. So I don't ever think that this shopping center, and I have a lot of shopping centers. I manage all little cities, big cities all over. The layout of this shopping center is what will keep this parking from exploding. Because of the way businesses are just not going to go next to the dance studio facing the field, or behind in the very back facing the back of the building. And that's why Stuart's saying clean up the back of the building so they don't feel like they're renting in warehouse space. So I just really think, everything's parking ratios are great and they work, but not everything's 100%. For a center that's just flat line straight with parking in the front, we wouldn't be standing here. We're over our parking, but this center here would be the exception, in my opinion. So.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmer.
Mayor, going back to your question a minute ago. So your example of the service center up on Ovilla Road, that was a single user in a single building. And we were trying to get them to get shared parking, which is exactly what we have here as a development with many users with shared parking. So that would be how you would clearly define the difference between those.
That's the only one that popped in my mind. So thank you, sir, very much.
You're welcome.
You're
One
past
more
your 3
thing,
minutes,
sorry.
So
Um,
thank you.
the-
Thank
sorry?
you. Thank you. You
Okay.
passed your 3 minutes.
Oh.
I let everybody kind of go a little bit and I apologize. So, but thank you. Mr. Randall, you're online. Did you want to comment on that? He's just listening? Okay, thank you. Okay. The time is 8:33 and I'll entertain a motion to. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yep. Go ahead.
My name's Philip. My last name is Hughes, Hughes. I own Gravy. We've been doing business here now for 15 months. I see some familiar faces. Thank you for your continued support. I met Stuart and Dan, the prospective buyers. They came and approached me and let me know that the improvements of the center would desperately appreciate the value of the building, the value of the customers, and their experience with the building, growing our sales ultimately. Unbeknownst to them at the time, my sister and I, we bought the old Brandy's building. And we understand that there's a parking agreement for us to be able to use the easement of the shopping center at Main Street Plaza. And for them to be able to use the parking that we own as the building. That's a mutually beneficial agreement for me at Gravy, because I get to use those parking spots. As you can see, the parking spots that would be for Zooks would also be used, and they could drive through the parking spaces or drive through the easement and provide revenue and interact with the businesses that we're talking about potentially going in. So I see it as kind of mutual benefit to the tenants. And I can certainly vouch for you, being one of the busier restaurants in that center, that the parking lot is never quite full enough. And what I mean by that is I can always fit a couple more cars in. So when I hear that they were having a hard time with the CEO for a pharmacy, I feel rather guilty that my restaurant's busy but I shouldn't. Because y'all have a great place to go. And I think that more restaurants or more businesses rather, similar to the pharmacy, they'll notice me and they'll come for me in addition to. So they might be the one parking spot only and go to the pharmacy and dine at my restaurant. So having said that, I would just like for you to all potentially consider the variance. I think it's mutually beneficial to all of us.
Thank
Thank you.
I didn't mean to cut you off or anything, so, but thank you. Was there anybody else here that wishes to speak on this? Okay. I'm sorry.
Did you get his name and everything?
Okay. So now the time is 8:36 and I'll entertain the motion to close this public.
So
hearing.
moved.
That's
Second.
Franklin. And Lightfoot. Those in favor of.
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, I.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, I.
That closes 5-0. Dr. Emma, so way back when we were discussing this, how do we find this agreement?
We
Was it-
didn't, this is something that's not recorded with the city. This is a private agreement that they recorded 20 years ago. So when we talked with them about it, they said it was a handshake deal, but maybe when the prospective buyer was looking into it and did a deed search, that's when they
So
located.
it's at the county.
Correct.
Excellent.
Yeah.
It's already filed.
Excellent.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. So does that get them in compliance?
No,
No, they
there's
do
still
not.
not enough parking, but it gets them those 18 more spaces that they can share, that the Zooks and the Plaza can share.
That was one of the things we told them 2 years ago, is they needed to get that agreement to have more spaces, so they have it, and it's still not quite.
Yeah, but it
enough
was,
for
when
the-
was it filed?
Yeah.
It was
About
filed
20 years ago.
20 years ago. So.
Right.
Okay, cool. Questions, council?
I was here when this shopping center came in as a councilman, and we were absolutely delighted. No, be quiet there, Bob. Yeah. We're just tickled to death. I mean, this is the first thing looked halfway decent in this city. I think it's back about 05 or 06, something like that. And but the fellow who developed it was crazier than a bat. I mean, we had a great restaurant going like you wouldn't believe. And the air conditioning went out and he wouldn't fix it, even though he was contracted to do it. I mean, he had to do it. But anyway, the restaurant closed, and that was the only, until Gravies came in, that was the only people that ever had any parking in that area. We're growing. And that development needs some help. I'm telling you that, you know, it really needs all the help it can get. And to have somebody who wants to step up and try to reinvigorate that, a shopping center which really, really needs it. My God, we ought to give the guy a shot. I'm not sure how smart he is, but we certainly ought to give the man an opportunity over a few parking places. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.
We don't put Ben on commercial
Oh,
property.
we don't step on her tongue. We're all right here.
That's okay. My comment, just from what you said earlier, I think it's perfectly reasonable, it's perfectly good, and it's the right thing to do, that we have parking standards for development, that we have, you know, Dr. Emma checking, make sure number of parking spaces are correct. But I don't think it's a problem to look at an individual area and say, this formula doesn't work for this reason or this reason or this reason. Come to council, look at it, make a reasonable exception. So I don't think we're shooting ourselves in the foot by doing that, or stepping on our tongue or any other, you know, terrible physical ailment we may get out of this. But it feels right to look at, it feels right to look at the configuration there to say, you know, that the parking, you know, situation may not be as bad, even if they're not meeting our formula. I don't have a problem with that. I think it's even better that they have a plan for future growth when and if they, you know, do turn the center into something that's more busy, so.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited about the new restaurant coming out front too. So this amendment is to individually allow or alter those numbers, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's what we're changing, the ratios.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. For those
Everybody
right-
good?
Yeah, I just would state for the record, whoever's on council 20 years ago when this got approved, failed the city. So hopefully we can clean this up.
Yeah.
But I do think this is a great opportunity to kind of assist that downtown area. Since we are having some development problems. So anyone who's looking to try to take a shot at that, I mean, I think we should do what we can to help.
All right. So I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 24-040. That's what we're approving. now.
Second.
Lightfoot and Smith. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Stewart, and Mr. Zimmerman.
Yeah.
I hope that works through, and I apologize. I can't remember your last name. Hughes. Yep. Thank you very much. Yep. All right. Thank you all, gentlemen. Yep. I hope it goes through. Thank you, Dr. Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff, for working on that. Item 16. Item 16 is conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 24-041, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the City of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from planned development 66, revised 5, PD 66 R5 to planned development 66, revised 6, PD 66 R6 for the addition in said planned development of a data center and auxiliary structures on the property described as Lot 2, Block A for the Alamo Missions Addition, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request for the Alamo Mission Site on the northwest corner of Ovilla and let me pull it up. And 342, as you can see on your site, on your screen. We have an approved concept plan that was approved for data centers. And we actually have approved phase 1. And that was approved with a data center building, auxiliary structures, and also the office building, which is the second building. And then this would be the third building in the entire site. They have submitted the final plan, and that was approved during the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. And they are meeting all of the requirements as was slated in the concept plan. The proposed data center building will be 283,497 square feet. And they will be proposing an auxiliary building that will be approximately over 120,000 square feet. So the PD, the original PD allows accessory structures, but there's a maximum cap of 20,000 square feet for the accessory structures. This one is going to be over, this auxiliary building right here is going to be over 120,000 square feet. And the purpose of this are the cooling material equipment, and these are basically essential for the functioning of the data center building. So it's in an effort to kind of make the building blend in with the surrounding areas. The applicant has submitted elevations to show the first 19 feet of the auxiliary structure to be an embossed kind of insulated metal panel, and it's supposed to have a textured outer look to resemble stucco, or an alternative material as recommended by staff. We get to it, and this is a data center building. And this is the accessory structure. And it's going to be about 59.5 feet. And this is the first 19, almost 20 feet of the building. And then there's an empty space here. These are the steel gantry so that the workers can go up the stairs, and that's a dry cooler equipment on top. So that would be something that if it's approved by the council, would be something that's an exception for this site. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval. The auxiliary structure would be essential for the functioning of data center building.
Okay, so this is a public hearing also. And the time is 8:46, and we'll open that public hearing. We had 3 submissions. Mr. Cox. Sorry, yep, come on.
Hey there. Y'all hear me?
Sure, you want to do yours first?
Matt's with Kimley Horn, as am I.
That's Michael.
Yes, again, Michael Landwehr, professional engineer with Kimley Horn Associates. Also present virtually is Matt Cox, partner, also at Kimley Horn. Office address 13455 Noel Road, Suite 700, Dallas, Texas. Here to answer any questions from council members or public.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you repeat your name, please, for me?
My name is Michael, and the last name is Landwehr, Landwehr.
No problem. And, okay, thank you very much. And who's that's online right there? Is that Mr. Cox?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
All right, and you're coming from Arkansas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All
Actually, I didn't come from Arkansas.
Okay. Is there anything that you wish to speak on this about?
No, sir. Just want to let you know I am here and happy to answer any questions. We've also got a couple members from the other team online as well in case any questions for them as well.
Okay. Thank you. Michael Gabriel. Online? Maybe?
Yes, hello.
Yep. Hello, sir. Do you have anything that you want to add on this?
Nope, thank you for everyone's time with the Alamo mission team, and happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Okay. And then Ms. Emily? I guess she's not on. Okay. All right. I assume y'all are for this, so that's what I can kind of say. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this? All right. I'll entertain a motion at 8:49 to close this public hearing.
So move.
Second.
Goodwin, Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Good one,
Miller, aye.
Smith, aye.
That closes at 8:49. So, it's not something that we're, surprised by. We knew that they were gonna be coming with another development. I hope to see a third development coming. But if we don't, my input would be to flip those 2 buildings. Maybe as an engineer, can you attest to why the cooling tower area is closer to Villa Road and the data center building is further north? Just because if they don't come with that third building, I'd prefer to see that building as opposed to the cooling towers. Do you have can you comment on that?
Yeah, Michael, I can comment on that.
He's leaving it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, Emma, can you do the straight site plan? There we go. If I got that right, the cooling.
You got it
Okay.
right.
Is
So I
that,
was asking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. In case they don't come with that third building, that third development.
No, no. There you go. No.
He had it.
Let him, there you go.
So Villa Road runs to the bottom of the stream.
Right.
And,
Front.
yeah. Well, and so they have this other property that's outlined by the property line.
Right.
And I assume that's enough building space for a third development, I assume. Yeah, further to the south.
With or without a cooler. Didn't we already give them an office?
Yeah, I don't know. You're right.
Yeah.
So can you comment on that?
Yes, I think you kind of alluded to it that there would be plans to continue to build out the campus so that there would be something else in between this auxiliary cooling building in the future.
Yeah. Whether it's a data center that needs a cooling component, do you know, is that accessory building exclusively for that one building? Or is it oversized such that it would take a building to the south?
I would have to defer to Matt or someone else who's on the part of the MEP team.
That's just for that building.
Just for that building. That's what he said.
Okay,
So now you-
so how many acres is that development versus the one that's down below? Can you answer that, Dr. Emma? Okay, and what's the
Lot
one
three.
up above?
39.
39, so pretty close.
Mhm.
So I would just direct staff to,
Maybe suggest that the new building be further south and the cooling towers across from the other cooling tower.
well, that's what I would for the third development, but I
Right.
don't know how to imply that we, because if they stop here, then we got a cooling tower that we're looking at along Old Villa Road. Hartman, you want to speak in?
I would say that you're I'd be able to see it from a villa, no matter what? Villa Road goes over 342.
Yeah, you're gonna see it.
See everything. Elevations, the cooling tower is larger than the data center height.
Oh, it is, okay.
Regardless, you're
Okay. I'm just making a comment. That's all I'm making.
I want to see the landscape plan for that, but it's got to be redwoods around it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Good, but just don't.
Any other questions, council?
No questions.
Okay. If it comes back to that, I'll come to y'all and sit and at this council, and just eyeball y'all and say, that's right. That's right. I told y'all 20 years from now. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 24-041.
So moved.
Second.
Lightfoot, Smith, those in favor.
Franklin, I.
Goodman, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0. What is the height of both of those?
So the accessory structure is about 59.5 feet and the data center building is about 35 feet.
Yeah, but how thick it is. I mean, I don't think you'd see much of it if they're flipped. 'Cause the
It would
width-
help.
Yeah, it would help. Okay, good. I got it. Somebody help me. Somebody support.
It would be much better if they were flipped on the next phase.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Signed up and somebody blocks it. Thank you.
We'll
City
take
Man.
note of that.
Thank you.
We'll take note of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No, I was rooting for you.
Thank you very much. Y'all were letting me hang myself.
That's easy.
Okay, item 17. Conduct a public hearing, consider approval of ordinance number 24-042, the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from Plan Development 104 revised PD 104R to Plan Development 104 revised to PD 104R2 to allow for a minor auto repair use on a site identified as Lot 3, Block A on the Benjamin E. Frazier Survey, abstract number 371. An addition located on the southwest corner of East Ovilla Road and Austin Boulevard, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas. Dr. M.
Mayor and council, this is PD 104. It includes Solman's Barbecue. And it was approved for a restaurant use for both lots right here, Lot 2, Block 8, and for this lot. And the applicant is coming to rezone this lot so that there would be an auto minor repair use allowed on the site. Both the base zoning district C1 and the future land use plan supports and allows for an auto minor repair use. Access to the site would be from Austin Boulevard and from Bowie, and via an access easement to the west where there's the Solman's Barbecue site. There's an encore easement going through the site at the north, so the applicant relocated the trees, the required number of trees throughout the site. As you can see. The parking requirement for auto minor repair use is 1 parking space per 200 square feet of floor area plus 1 parking space for each bay. The applicant is requesting as part of this PD request that the parking requirement be reduced to just 1 parking space per 200 square feet of floor area. So it'd go from needing 42 parking spaces to 35 parking spaces, and the bays would allow for parking. The applicant has submitted elevations with brick, stone, cast stone, and the architectural style really blends in, and the materials blends in with the existing plaza to the west. Any sort of trash or storage, or let's say like old worn out tires, they'd be stored and located behind the dumpster, but within the enclosure. And then they'd get a recycle vendor that picks up recycling to come and take it out. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the request.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Emma. The time is 8:59. We'll open this public hearing. We have Steve Meyer. You wish to speak on this?
Yes.
Sure, please come on up. Steve Meyer.
Hi. Like the mayor said, my name is Steve Meyer. I'm here tonight representing my company, Humble Investments. Our address is 300 Crescent Court, Suite 1840, Dallas, Texas. I'm here tonight to present our proposed Firestone Complete Auto Care project, for which we're requesting amendment to the existing PD to allow our minor automotive use. I'm sure y'all are familiar with Firestone, but Firestone owns and operates more than 2,200 of these service centers nationwide. They are all company-owned stores. They're not franchisees operated. Their services include a lot of minor auto repair, scheduled maintenance, and of course they sell and install tires. There's no body work, no painting, no engine removal or transmission removal. It's just classified as minor auto repair. Their store hours vary a little bit by location, but generally they're open 7 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and some stores are open from 9 to 5 on Sunday. And they have a staff of approximately 8 employees per shift.
This building is approximately 6,800 square feet. About 1,000 of that is the customer area. The rest of it is the service area and the inventory areas that are not public areas. We're proposing to depart from the prototypical Firestone exterior materials in order to match the adjacent Soulman's, the medical city emergency room, and then the retail strip to the west of that, all of which kind of use a combination of red brick, some stone, light colored stucco material. As for the layout, we've complied with the cross access drives, which are already in place on the plat with Soulman's Barbecue. And we have access to Austin as well as Bowie on the backside. We're providing more than twice the required area of green space. And as Emma mentioned, we can't put trees in the Encore easement. So we shifted all the trees to the other parts of the site. So we have the same tree count, but we've got twice as much overall impervious landscaped area than we're required to have. We had a pre-development meeting back in April with staff, and I think we've addressed all the comments that they made during that meeting. And so I'm just happy to answer any questions that y'all might have tonight.
Nice looking building.
I'm sorry?
I said a nice looking building.
Thank you. Think it'll blend in nicely.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Was there anyone else that was here wish to speak or online? All right, the time is 9:02, and I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Okay, that's Lightfoot. Franklin,
Yes.
those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye. That passes 5-0. So, any questions?
What's the name of is it like a tire center that's going like half a mile up the road next door to the coffee place?
No, it's oil change.
Oil change, okay, thank you.
Will they be storing cars overnight, like in the building itself? Is that part of the service that they'll? No, if you leave your car there, they keep it in the building overnight just for liability reasons.
Not at the parking spaces, but inside in the building.
Inside the building. And they do have an early bird service for people that may drop their car off and put the keys in the slot.
Sure.
I guess somebody could show up at midnight, but generally it's people coming in before they open at 7. So, and we've talked with staff about, understanding although I think it's allowed the desire to not have cars parked, and they never dismantle cars outside. They're really not doing that kind of work.
So is that something that needs to be in the?
No, it goes to thinking about if they're gonna have fewer parking spots than they would normally have, where would those cars be? Most of those customers are gonna have their car being worked on in the bay.
Right, and that's
If
why we
they're-
asked for that,
Yeah, if
exactly.
they're there overnight, they would be in the bay, they wouldn't be in the parking spots. That's what I wanted to make sure of.
So with 35 spaces and 7 bays, we really have 42 parking
And
spaces.
what would the normal requirement be based on square footage? Okay, so they cover it just creatively assigning certain areas internal as parking spots, basically. Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
And to be honest with you, I'll be shocked if that parking lot's ever full.
Sure, I mean, it's not.
A great store sees
You're not
40
driving 3
cars a
cars up
day.
there to wait for your one car to get worked on.
Yeah.
So.
Dr. Emmett, would you show us where the outside storage, like if they have tires? So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Firestone's known for the tires, and do
Right.
they have an inside
Like the
storage
used,
area?
the used inventory,
Yeah, used inventory.
they keep that in. Here's the dumpster enclosure, and here's the dumpster, then here's the used inventory.
Outside display.
Hmm?
That's what he's asking.
So that's in an enclosed.
Correct,
It's enclosed.
correct.
Masonry all the way around. Okay.
There's just a divider between the dumpster area and the used tire. But we keep them in there and the recycling company picks them up.
What's the typical time frame?
I think it depends on how many tires are selling.
But you know, nowadays.
We want you to be selling 100 a day.
They'll have to come every other day or so.
Okay, there we go.
Are you doing outside display of new tires and wheels and stuff like that, that may be taking up parking spots or other areas around the building?
No, they would never use a parking spot, but there, you know, we haven't talked about if that's even allowed. There are some instances where they, you know, roll a rack of tires out there with some kind of banner on it. And
not the
that's
picture.
not allowed in a lot of places. And we tell the store management that, and some of them ignore us and they get their hand slapped with a citation, but typically they're not displaying stuff outside.
The used tire part of it, has it ever come to your awareness that the mismanagement of storing it in the back in a displeasurable way has been a record?
I have not ever, we've developed 150 of these across the southern half of the US since 2005, and I have not heard of that being an issue. They used to keep them inside the building, but it makes it easier for the recycler to show up and take them. You know, you have to track tires cradle to grave now, so they don't end up in a pile out in the country somewhere. So there's a number on them, and the recycling, there's some government agency that tracks that. And so, I mean, if it got to where they were piled up outside, you know, that would certainly be a code violation.
Sure. And that'd be probably addressed for you. So, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No questions.
All right,
So I guess, are we allowing the outside display or are we not allowing the outside?
Is that something we could, that's why I didn't know if it was already in the ordinance one way or the other. We have to decide it
It's
for
not.
this.
If you don't want the outside display, then you need to say no outside.
I don't mind an outside display during business hours.
They're like a temporary,
Yeah.
yeah.
During business hours.
they wouldn't want to leave good tires outside anyway.
Exactly,
so
but, yeah.
They're gonna roll them back in.
Yeah.
I'll chain them.
Yeah, well.
I mean, I don't know how to word that because I don't know what that. looks
You
like.
have a bunch of tire thieves.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't mind for business purposes, a display on their property of their product. And
I don't think you need to add anything, Danny.
Okay.
You're not gonna.
not gonna restrict it. We don't need that. It's not automatically restricted, basically is what you're saying.
Dr. Emmett, where's their sign
Good point, Council.
located? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
And that can be underneath the right of way, the power lines and stuff like that.
The Encore easement?
Yeah,
Yes.
they don't care about that, but you can't put a tree under there.
Yeah, because you don't have to cut the sign.
The tree doesn't get 200 feet in the air.
Well, y'all don't know my signs. I just put them on a hydraulic and jack it up. All right, cool. And so there's a sidewalk that connects with the other, sidewalks that are to the west. There it is. Okay.
Yep.
All right, cool. Council, entertain a motion to approve this ordinance number 24-042. The good one and Miller.
Miller, good one, either one.
Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Good one, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That's a 5-0. Item 18.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Item 18, consider adoption of resolution 24-089 R in the city of Red Oak, Texas, designating an official and alternate newspaper for the city of Red Oak, Texas, and providing an effective date. Sir.
So this is our yearly time to renew our official city newspaper. Currently, we utilize the Waxahachie Daily Light as the official newspaper and the Dallas Morning News as the alternate. We utilize the Dallas Morning News as the alternate sparingly because it is more expensive, but it is a daily newspaper and nothing else these days are. So there's times when you have to meet certain state mandated deadlines that you just can't do it feasibly without having a daily newspaper. This time, I think we're recommending the Waxahachie Sun. They are a little cheaper than the Daily Light. Waxahachie Daily Light used to be, well, it used to be daily, then it was 3 times a week, then it was 2 times a week. Now it's only a weekly newspaper. The Sun is a little bit cheaper, and the deadline to turn in your advertisements is about a day later. So if we're trying to get something in, we have an extra close to 24 hours to be able to get that advertisement in. And the Sun is well established. It's been around for several years now and has a good circulation.
So the recommendations, the Sun.
The Sun is the official and the alternate is
Dallas Morning News.
Are there any requirements for the publication that we use other than daily when the item requires it to be daily? I mean, is there a certain size of newspaper, certain circulation, certain area?
They all meet the
Okay.
requirements for that.
Okay.
My question is, widely distributed in Red Oak, how connected do we feel as though it's getting to people in Red Oak?
It is as distributed as the others. We don't have a Red Oak newspaper here. But it has about as good a circulation as any of the others.
Yeah, nothing's good anymore. Okay, so
Hopefully they'll eventually come to their senses and
At the-
make it digital.
at the state,
level.
Yeah.
so maybe we need to go ahead and petition that and send it to Harrison so he can get a vote. I mean, get our vote or whatever. So, Ms. Karen, if you'd write that up, say our representative wants to, when he needs to push that to digital.
Do you want me to just do that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, please do it.
I could do it for him and send it to
Yes, would
There you go.
Yeah.
Please, thank you. So we can get away from having to go with paper.
Got it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 24-089R, and this is to designate the Sun as our primary and the Dallas Morning News as our secondary.
So moved.
Second.
That is Lightfoot, second was Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That's 5-0. Item 19, continue the public hearing and consider adoption of resolution 24-071R, the city of Red Oak, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of a tax abatement agreement by and between the city of Red Oak, Texas and AREP space OSF3 Red Oak LLC, ARP,
Hey, Rep.
Red Oak, ARP, authorizing its execution by the mayor and providing an effective date.
And
Oh,
and this one, we've been through it several times now. We've postponed the hearing a couple of times. This time, the reason we've postponed it is because they haven't actually closed on the property. And we can't abate something that doesn't exist. They don't even own the property, so we can't abate it. So what we've done, they intend to close, is it tomorrow, maybe? Right. So what we've done here is Bob has included in the language that we would approve it tonight, but it would be effective at the time of closing or October 1, whichever comes first. And as far as the abatement agreement itself, is similar to those that we've done for Compass, Google, and Database.
Yeah, the abatement time doesn't begin on this until a certificate of occupancy, so they'll get the full 10 years. We wanted to go ahead and approve the abatement agreement with an effective date of October 1. By then they'll have closed, and then we can execute the appropriate documents then next fiscal year.
so if they delay and go past that, it's null and void and we have to come back again.
No. It's effective from that date forwards.
What if they rep?
So when they sign the documents, it will have closed. That's the whole point.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
And they actually sign the abatement agreement. So we
Public-
will not sign this tonight.
Okay.
I got a
Public
question.
hearing opens at 9:15. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Again, Daniel Box, 2728 North Harwood in Dallas. Just letting you know that we're here and available to answer any questions. And a big thanks to Lee and his team and everybody here at the city for working with us. We're excited for what we put forward, hoping and looking forward to being here. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Box. All right.
Okay.
Casey's back. Go. Anybody else here that wishes to speak on this? Anybody online? Entertain the motion at 9:16 to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Miller,
Second.
Smith, those in favor?
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
Okay, so I'll entertain the motion to adopt resolution 24-071 R. As
So moved.
presented.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Lightfoot. Smith. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Box. Okay, commissions, item 20, consider approval of appointment, reappointment, resignation, or removal of membership on the city council boards and commissions as follow. The zoning board of adjustment, appointment of Casey Hargrove and Waylon McNally and regular members for the remainder 2-year terms from June 2023 to June 2025. Appointment of William Drake and Ron Wilson as regular board members for remainder 2-year term from June 2024 to June 2026. Entertain those approvals.
That's a Red Oak Rogue Scout right there.
We're gonna appoint.
He already said he's gonna put you on there when you're on council. Yeah.
If you have to go off council, we're gonna put you. I'm out of here.
No.
So moved.
Second.
Lightfoot,
Second.
Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, I.
Goodwin, aye.
Miller, aye.
Lightfoot, aye.
Smith, aye.
That's 5-0.
It's made my day. Made my day. I can sleep well tonight.
Yeah, okay, so, Mr. Hartman, we finally got you a, ZBO.
I used to be on that.
ZBO.
CBOI.
Did you?
CBOA.
Just another late night meeting for me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, but we hadn't had one since 2006.
Yeah, so you're, now you need to make up.
There's a lot of backup in the system.
There better not be.
20 years ago when you was on
Yeah,
council.
that's right,
approving
20
those.
years ago from his stuff.
Moving that
Chief
down
Plant.
and stuff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just want to let y'all know, we're in the process of, designing Fire Station 3. We're right on track and almost at the 30% schematic design, process. Which is gonna, create us a timeline and the cost and that sort of thing. Later this week, we've got, some other meetings going on, regarding it, but it's on schedule, as it should be. I also wanted to let you know that Cruise had a busy August with a 9% increase in call volume as compared to, August of 2023, with 23% overlapping calls for service, which obviously, again, as y'all heard me say in the past, is a reduction when all of our units are busy and out. So it's just part of the growth we're experiencing. So, but I don't have anything additional unless you have any questions regarding the monthly report.
Good, chief.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Chief Wolf.
Mayor, Council, just two things. October 1st is our National Night Out Against Crime in Red Oak. It'll be held here in the Government Center parking lot like we did last year. Extend an invitation to all of the council members to show up and participate in that. We also had a reserve officer that works for us that used to be a full-time employee. He's decided to come back full-time for us. He's a former detective, Alex Garcia. So he'll be coming back to work for us starting on the 16th, full-time as one of our detectives. So that fills the vacancy that we had in the Criminal Investigations Division. Other than that, I really don't have anything to add to the monthly report unless you have questions.
No question.
Thank you.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Beasley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have one update to the monthly report and then something to show you guys real quick. We are in the process of getting everything finalized for our Fall Festival event. So we hope that you guys can all join us. It's October 19th. It is over at Pearson Park and the Red Oak Municipal Center. And we'd also like to announce that we've secured Community National Bank as our title sponsor for this year's event. And Carbon Aerospace is coming back on as our presenting sponsor. So we're excited to have both of those helping support that event. And we were able to grow this event this year with those type of sponsors. We're adding some new interactive activities and some new entertainment options as well. So that event is growing and we're really excited. Hope you guys can come out. And then I would like to share with you guys. I'm just going to kind of let this play through. So we are adding to the Red Oak Government Center some acoustic paneling in several different areas, partly for a lot of noise reverberation we've got going on in a couple areas and partly to cover up a lot of the white walls. So it's going to flip through the couple areas and I can always zoom in if you guys want to see any other additional areas. So UB is a location that's going to have a little bit of wall art and a lot of ceiling attachments. And then I've got a couple small pieces that are going to go in the walkway from UB to admin, and then a couple large pieces that are actually going to go right there in front of development services. And then we've got a couple other pieces that are going to go over by the library and in front of the gymnasium. So I can stop this slideshow if you guys would like to inspect them further. I can also answer any questions.
Good.
Todd isn't selecting any of this, is he?
One more time.
I said Todd isn't selecting any of the art, is he?
He did approve it. So not really art, they're acoustic panelings. So they're felt kind of in material. Some of them will have kind of a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional look. We've got a mix throughout the building. Hopefully to, like I said, cover some of the white walls a little bit. Any questions?
No questions.
No.
That is all I have.
Thank you, man. Mr. Hartman.
Mayor, council, I just wanted to highlight one of our numbers from our monthly report for our single family dwellings. We did 54 permits last month, which is pretty high for us. I think the most we've ever done was 61, if I remember right, but this is coming in a close second. So even with interest rates high, I guess we're still going strong here. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Mr. McRoberts.
Mayor, council. A lot of good news in this month's report. Sales tax for collected in August for the month of June was the second best sales tax revenue ever. So really good news. Usually those high months are around Christmas. So it's good to see a late year collection like that. We're up 8% year over year. And we bested last August by 30%. So really a big month. Permit revenues remain really strong. Interest, again, really strong, as you can see from the investment report. I think the biggest news in this whole report is that we received a bond ratings upgrade from Fitch. So we're now a AA plus. They stated ample budget flexibility, healthy fund balance, and strong population trends. So we're in really good financial shape. Huge credit, to the staff and to the leadership. So that's pretty much all I have. I'll answer any questions. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have a quick update on recruitment. This last month, we added 2 new positions, or we hired 2 new people. Tim is one of them. And then we currently have 5 positions posted on our website, so we are recruiting for those, including police. This month, we wrapped up our annual open enrollment, and all the staff did great. We got everything in on time. When I was able to get through everything smoothly. So I appreciate staff's support in that and rolling that out for the last 2 weeks. That's about all that I have to highlight from my monthly report, unless you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Binford.
Mayor, Council, just a couple things that's toward the end of the budget year for us. So just trying to wrap up any computer replacements that we're doing for different departments. We did have our main network switch fail on us about 2 hours before we were scheduled to replace it. So luckily we already had our other one configured. So we were down about 20 minutes was all. So that was good. And took me about a day and a half to get the cameras for the PD back up and running, but it was pretty nice short downtime for a switch failure. Working with Public Works on the network and security for the new Dobbits Tower, and then just normal ads for users and new employees. So that's it for this month. See if you have questions.
Sure, thank you, sir. Ms. Cook, you have a helpful.
Yes, sir. Good evening, council. August has been a nice, relaxing month for us, just trying to recover from the summer. Had a wonderful program. We participated in the Red Oak ISD Back to School Bash. We had over 250 people visit our table and do some button making. So a good success there. We appreciate the participation with Red Oak ISD. We've got a busy month coming up here in September. We're participating or supporting National Voter Registration Day. And so we're partnering with Ellis County Voter Registration. They'll be hosting a table on Tuesday, September 17th next week during our library hours. So if you're not registered to vote, be sure to drop by the table and they'll be happy to help you sign up. Next weekend, we have Founders Day coming up. The library will be participating and hosting a booth. That's also the same weekend as our Red Oak Friends of the Library book sale. So be sure to come by Friday or Saturday and shop our sale and support your library. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have nothing to add to the report. Just would like to highlight the fishing event on October the 5th from 8 to 10 at Pearson Park.
What type of fish are gonna be released?
We don't have a set time or date on that yet. Type, those will be catfish.
Thank you, sir, very much. All right. Mr. Binford too.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are y'all tonight?
Fabulous.
Good. Just want to give y'all a quick little preview of our Dobbits Water Tower. We're at about 95% on the design. So we hope to be taking that or releasing that for bid here pretty soon. But just want to give you all a little preview of our new 200-foot structure that'll be going right around the corner. We are partnering up with IT. It'll have a fiber connection between it and here at this building, which will provide excellent redundancy for our SCADA system. And it'll be, a closed loop network, which keeps it from being vulnerable to cybersecurity attacks. We went live with our work order management software, Cartograph, August 27th. And since we have already logged 372 completed tasks for the Public Works Department. And we have completed our lead service line inventory for the EPA and TCEQ. We discovered 0 lead service lines and 0 that had the indication of
Thought you'd have one at the end.
We did. We actually thought the very last one, but it ended up just being solder, which is not. It's on the outside of the pipe, not on the inside. And according to EPA, we're good to go.
Though it's a total of 4,110 service lines in the city, we visually inspected 1,200 of them. The other 2,910 were verified through records, record drawings, tap records, things like that. And then lastly, our trash bash is October 12th from 7:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. at the Oaks Church. So feel free to come by and drop whatever you need to. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
sir. So the time is 9:31 and we will go into executive session. And thank you all very much for your hard work and thank you for your service and good to see y'all. Glad you're still upright, not staggering around from the fabulous meal that y'all threw. It was a great, great meal. Although I think the raffle was rigged because I think the gentleman right there in the front sold a heck of a lot of winning tickets and some of those were family members.
And none of them were me.
Yeah. Are they on?
No, you gotta have another person.
He's ready.
The time is 10:01 PM and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Franklin and Goodwin.
Yeah.
Let's go home by the count of
5-0. Aye.
5-0.
Bob, don't forget your pack.
Aaron, I'm taking the goodie bag home with me today.
Good.
Everybody have a good night.
Amen.
Thank you.